Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mormonish. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Landon.
And we have once again with us on Mormonish Podcast, the amazing Lila Tuller. How are you?
Hello, I am doing well. Thanks for having me on today.
The thing I love about Lila is that we literally came up with this. We're going to podcast about this just a couple hours ago. And we're like, let's just call Lila. We're all the time just sitting at our podcasting stations ready to go at any minute. That is how it is.
Just waiting for you to call. That's all I do is wait.
That's all you do is wait. And Lila is a new co-host over on Renee's channel. She Became Visible. So you're doing a lot more podcasting now than you have in the past.
Really, Renee had to take a little hiatus. We have done a little bit, but not much. Yeah.
Yep. Some people do get hiatus. Is that the plural? Did you hear that, Landon? Some people do.
Some do. Okay.
Landon's like, not me. Rebecca just says all the time. Do it.
We're waiting for yours to come. Well, you're going to Japan.
Landon is taking off for Japan, literally in what, 6 hours? And I'm
6 hours or something.
Well, let's just get one more in. Yeah. Just one more in. I know we can do it. So, but there's a reason that we're doing this one little last one before Landon takes off for a while. And it's an important one. It's something that I came across on social media. It was a faithful site where they were talking. There was a post about garments, and the post had been made about 2 days ago. So since all of the conference talks and the garment of the holy priesthood talk and the change in the, recommend interview, all these things that happened since this post came up, and I just read through it. I thought this is really important to talk about because this is a faithful sub. These are faithful women and real women talking about real issues with garments. So there's everything you can say from the pulpit about it, the covenants, the promise, you've got to wear it, what it means. But then there are real day-to-day issues with women wearing garments. And these are faithful women. And I thought this was really important to go through. I thought it was very telling, and I think it's going to be really interesting. So we have a slideshow, of course. Let's pull that up. And we're just going to go kind of through the trajectory of this thread, because I think we can learn a lot from it. And I think it's important that people in leadership, no matter what level, understand that, again, these are real women with real-time issues with garments. It has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with your spirituality. These are real just issues in wearing the garment. So we called it Let's Not Be Rash when it comes to garments, right? So that kind of tips you off on what we're going to be talking about. And I can say that Landon is really thrilled to be talking about garments and rashes.
Like, can we get someone else on here?
No.
I'm bound to say something inappropriate.
We'll bleep you out. Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be Mormonish without Landon. So, yep. I'm like, nope, you're doing it. You're on it. Lila and I will keep you in control. So, all right. Oh my gosh. Yep. Okay. Let's go to our first slide, which was the original post that I came across.
Okay.
Like I said, that was on a faithful thread. So let's have Lila, if you wouldn't mind, just read this. This was the post that was made 2 days ago.
Okay. Sorry if this isn't allowed. I'm just so stumped right now. I've noticed lately that when I'm wearing clean garments, I developed a rash. And when I say I wear clean garments, I mean I change them anywhere from 2 to 4 times a day because I thought maybe the rash comes from sweat buildup and such. I also shower daily and have overall good hygiene. I've gone to the doctors multiple times and have gotten creams and pills for it with no success. Unfortunately, in my frustration, I went a day in regular underwear, and in that day, the rash went away. But the day that I put my garments back on, the rash comes back. I don't know what to do. Do I just deal with having a gross rash all over my body the rest of my life so that I can honor my covenants? Or do I go without and miss out on the blessings of wearing garments? Is there someone I can talk to about this, or am I just out of luck? Edit. I failed to mention that I have in fact tried all the different material and even the more loose-fitting one pieces too. Again, with no success.
Wow. So I sent this slideshow to Lila ahead of time, about a couple hours ago. What did you think when you first read this? What were your initial reactions?
Oh, goodness. Well, I probably shouldn't say what my initial reactions were. Of course, my initial reaction was, well, don't wear them.
I know.
If they're bothering you, don't wear them. But
Right.
you know that that's not what
No.
a faithful person is going to do.
Exactly.
So I would say she did the right thing by reaching out to see what other women's answers or thoughts were on the topic. Yeah.
Yep, I think so too. Yeah. And I just had a lot of empathy for somebody that, doesn't understand what's happening. And that's something that's affecting you all day long. You're really uncomfortable. And, I've had situations like that before. One time I went running in a sandstorm. Don't ask me why. And there was something that got on my skin, and it started out just a little bit. And as my dermatologist explained to me, your skin can have this massive reaction where pretty soon you can't stop it. Like, it's itching everywhere. You might have a contaminant in one place, but your skin just freaks out, your epidermis, and it just starts everywhere to the point where your skin is almost in shock, is kind of how he described it to me. So I had a lot of empathy for this person, and I thought it's really brave to reach out about a very personal question like this and see, almost, you think the person's probably almost desperate in reaching out in this way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think so too. So let's go to our next slide and see if there was an answer. So yes, right away, this thread had a lot of comments on it. It really resonated with a lot of people. So somebody wrote back and said, let me guess, you're wearing a cotton-based garment, because they're all a whole bunch of different kinds of fabrics. It's a known problem. It's acknowledged by the distribution services and something I have dealt with for quite some time. I recently inquired about options and was informed by a clothing consultant at the distribution services. Now, this is a place that distributes the garments, sells the garments, knows about the garments. You can call about the garments. A consultant at distribution services that allergic reactions, specifically rash and hives, are common reactions to the dye used on the cotton garments. And we're going to talk about this later. Their suggestion is to request the bamboo cotton garments, which do not use the same dye. They sent me information about taking measurements, and I should call back to complete the order. I have not yet done that part due to other priorities, but you should give it a try. Here is the information about getting help that I received after my initial inquiry. So she was able to reach out. She knew where to reach out, this person who's responding to the original post, and talk to the experts about women's garments, who said something about this is common. Well, that's a little bit disturbing. What do you think about that, Landon? I mean, you were a garment wearer also, although I've always said, men, it's just like wearing boxer briefs and a t-shirt. It's not, although rashes, I think, would be, men could get that too if they had a reaction.
Yeah, we're always scratching down there, so it's hard to know.
Number one inappropriate comment. Let's count them, Lila. No.
But no, this is disturbing to me that it's a known issue. And
yes.
here we have a known issue, evidently. And what do they do in conferences? They say that they double down on wearing them. They don't say, hey, look, we know there's an issue. If it's causing rashes or hives, I guess that's why we're the beehive state, because we've got hives. But if you're having rashes or hives, you don't have to wear the garment. I mean, this is a medical condition, right?
Yes.
Nobody's going to tell you if you're going in for surgery that you should wear your garments while they're cutting into you, or if you're in a bed, a hospital bed being treated, nobody's going to tell you. In this case, to me, this is a medical issue, and you should not wear them. And if it's the cause of the medical condition, you have every reason in the world not to be wearing them.
Yep, I think that's true. Let's go to the next slide. This is what the distribution center wrote back to this person who's responding to the original post and told them about garments. Landon, do you want to read that?
Yeah, thank you for contacting the distribution services. We are sorry about the situation experiencing an allergic reaction to various garments fabrics. We have the options for special orders depending on your needed conditions. We have clothing consultants that can help you determine what can be done to help with a special garment order. The consultants are open for phone calls Monday to Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. and then back from 1 to 4 p.m. Mountain Time. At your convenience, please call us back and ask to speak with a clothing consultant for a special order option.
Had you ever heard of that before, Lila? I mean, you've worn garments for decades. I wore garments for decades. I never knew that there was additional fabric, this bamboo cotton that they're talking about, that you could special order.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, people know now. I guess they know now. Maybe we'll have to link the phone number in the, I don't know how many faithful people watch our podcast, but maybe we could link the phone number.
Yeah.
All right.
This sounds like the Curtin McConkie of underwear here. Call the consultant right away. Get on the garment hotline.
That's right. Call the hotline. There's a hotline for everything. That's it exactly. So, all right. So that kind of piqued my interest. Let's read further and see what some of the other. Okay, so she continues and says, the woman that I spoke with at the distribution services was very kind and quickly offered the bamboo cotton option after I stated I was having difficulty with rashes and hives when wearing cotton-based garments, but not nylon ones. So as I said, there are so many different kinds of fabric. You know, there's polycotton, cotton, nylon, a satiny one. There's some kind of invented fabrics. Unfortunately, I have other issues, mostly notable acne and overheating when wearing nylon, which of course, if you're wearing nylon in hot temperatures, you are going to have all of those issues. So they are not a permanent option for me. So she suggested I try the bamboo cotton. It's baffling to me why they are not just made available through the normal store and require a special order. But I have thoughts on that I shall keep to myself. Good luck to you. She's saying to the original poster, good luck to you. Please share your experience if you try the bamboo or other options. So that's a funny little remark, that this poster is going, dang it. Why can't you let people know there are people out there that are struggling and suffering? And if this is an option, please tell us, why should it be a special order? So I thought that was kind of interesting. Let's go to our next one. Okay. So as I found out, bamboo garments are twice as expensive as regular garments. This is something that I learned. So in order to get the garments that don't have that dye, and again, we're going to talk about this in a minute, it would cost you twice as much. And I think Landon, you looked into the price of garments once. Didn't we kind of crunch this about how expensive it was compared to regular underwear? It's definitely more expensive, I think.
Oh yeah, Walmart, you get like 10 pairs for $20. I think it's like $20 for each piece. So this spending twice as expensive, that sounds like a bamboozle to me.
Oh my, you are just one-liner after one-liner tonight. I'm gonna have to shut you down. How do I push the button? No. This is a serious topic, Landon. No, and that's true. And I will say that you probably 10 for $10 at Walmart. You're probably not shopping at Victoria's Secret like maybe some of the rest of us, where it can get a little more spendy. But you're right. Still, the garment, it does tend to be more expensive. And if it's twice as much, that's really expensive. So then there was another comment that I thought was really funny, interesting on the thread. Lila, do you want to read this comment?
Sure. The fact that the church has $150 billion sitting in the Ensign Peak Fund makes the problem of bamboo cotton expense a non-issue. They should be providing those at the same cost as the others and paying the difference themselves. If they're going to insist on people wearing the things, they better make them in a way that doesn't harm people. There are so many problems with this whole thing. I'm so over it.
So over it. There it is. That's right. Over it. She's out. Over it.
Yes. Well, I mean, think about it. If they're twice as expensive and they've got all this money sitting there going nowhere,
right?
You could at least chip in for the price of the freaking bamboo garments and let us have them at the same price as the others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I think so too.
At the very least.
At the very least. And again, this is Landon pointed
for wearing these. In fact, they should be paying us to wear them.
Your garment stipend. That really could be a thing.
Really? Like, if they paid me to wear them, I might even wear them now, but probably not. I don't think they could pay me enough.
Maybe on a cold day for extra layers. So, and again, this, as Landon pointed out, this is a medical issue. I mean, this is something going on with your epidermis that can be serious, and it can be annoying. It can be debilitating. It can be aggravating. I mean, it runs the gamut, but it literally is a medical problem.
I don't think they care that much about our medical problems.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I also think that their concern might be everyone and their dog will suddenly have a medical problem.
Exactly.
Right? Just like we all need the petite garments.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's a secret to garments. If you're not aware, if you're a woman and you want to wear a shorter short, you get the short length garment or the petite. And of course, you buy them at a distribution center and they'll look you up and down and go, you don't look that petite. And I'm like, oh, trust me, I am.
It's like, these are for my daughter.
We all played that game. Yeah. No, I'm very petite. What are you trying to say?
You say I'm not petite?
Don't you dare. Yeah. But that was definitely a workaround.
I can see how maybe suddenly there'd be a lot of people with, with epidermal issues.
Yes. Yeah.
But the church makes, you look at someone who's gluten-free and has a gluten-free diet. They, in the sacrament trays, they've been passing around the little, I don't know what, rice cake or whatever.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, you haven't seen that? Yeah, they'll put, I'm not sure what it is, but they put a little cracker thing in and people who are gluten-free can take that instead of the sacrament. I don't see how this is any different. It's you got a medical issue that you can't partake in one of the covenants or one of the things. They should have alternate things for you.
And it shouldn't be any more money.
It shouldn't cost you any more to do that.
Even if it costs more, they should just, one price across the board.
Maybe we could get people's insurance to kick in the extra.
Oh, there's not like the medical. You can write it off on your flex fund that you need the bamboo garment.
That's right.
You're forced
You're buying
to wear
your bamboo underwear on your HS.
Causes a rash. Yeah. Well, these are great suggestions, and we have even more as we go forward. Let's go to our next slide. You guys are funny. Okay, so here's something that a lot of you may not be aware of. And I came across this years ago, and I found that a lot of people don't realize that. Why do even the cotton garments, which you would think, that's a pure fiber, pure fabric, why do even cotton garments cause problems? Because LDS garments are constructed from a darker fabric, and then they are dyed white.
I had no idea. Why don't they just use white fabric to start with?
I think it's expense. I think that they're able to find a cheaper. Yeah, as I understand it, I know. Again, I know. As I understand it, it's a gray fabric, even sort of maybe a bluish fabric, and it is dyed white, which of course we could make all kinds of statements about white and delightsome, right? They're turning everything white. But this is why, everyone, your garments turn yellow and gray almost instantly within a few weeks, because you're probably bleaching them and washing them on hot because you're thinking they're white and they'll get whiter, but they're not. They're a color. So they're returning to their original color when you take all those, when you do what you think you should do with a white piece of material. And there really aren't instructions on the garment tabs, if I remember, that are super clear about that. But you technically should wash them on cold. You should treat them like a colored fabric. So that's pretty interesting to me. Did you know that, Landon, at all?
I had no idea. And, being a bachelor who does his own laundry.
You don't even know what colored and whites are.
Recipe for disaster.
It's a good thing you don't wear garments anymore.
Yeah.
But again, the dye that they use that permeates every bit of that fabric, I believe, is what's causing a lot of these things. When the people say, even the cotton garments, which are supposed to be, the most pristine, the most pure, even those have a dye that is causing these issues. But most people don't know they're dyed. And so they just keep washing them, and they're trying to keep them clean, like the original poster, changing them 2, 3, 4 times a day. And they don't know that it's a losing battle, because it's already a fabric that is saturated with a dye. And for some people, that's going to have a very negative consequence to your skin.
Yeah, of course it does. I would think so.
Yep.
White dye, especially, like that's different than colored dyes.
Yeah. Well, and how much dye would it take to dye something white? I mean, that's what I keep thinking of. If it's a blue and a dark gray, how much synthetic, how much dye, how many chemicals is that going to take to dye that white?
And it's still cheaper to do that than to just use white fabric to start with?
Supposedly it is.
I find that ultimately.
I work in the construction field, and OSHA requires us that anytime we have any kind of a chemical that can cause an irritation to your skin or anything else, we have to have what's called a material safety data sheet that tells you how to deal with it, what it's made of. It's a safety thing. It almost sounds like the garment should come with their own safety data sheet that you can keep on board, so you know what to do if it starts to cause irritation or skin rash.
Like a warning label, because a lot of these comments are like, just wash them more, but that's probably going to have the opposite effect.
Yeah, if it's the dye that's the problem, yeah, it would have the opposite.
Yeah, and you saw the people at the distribution center saying, yeah, those are dyed. So in fact, go to our next slide. I picked up some other comments just in this thread where it looks like a lot of people are aware of this, but then there were other people on this thread that had never heard this before. So Lila, do you want to read these? These are just separate little comments about people talking about this dyeing process.
Okay. From the sister workers I spoke with, I learned that the fabric used for all garment fabrics is dyed white. So it's a color fabric, which means if you're going to use bleach on any temple garment fabric, it must be color safe bleach. No substitutes. You will get yellowed garments after multiple washings with regular bleach. If you don't want to add color safe bleach, the ladies recommend you add either 1/4 cup hydrogen peroxide or 1/4 cup white vinegar, not both, to help ensure brightness and a fresh smell.
Even that sounds kind of like not great for your skin. I don't
Yeah. We use vinegar to clean our boat.
Okay.
So
let's just say that. Yeah. And hydrogen peroxide to like highlight your hair. Yeah. None of this sounds great for sensitive skin, and not just skin, but sensitive areas. You know, plug your ears, Landon. You know what we're talking about, ladies. Well, and guys too. Sensitive areas, you know.
So
this
just
is not
splash
good.
vinegar down there and see how that goes over, how that feels.
Wow, Lila went there. There you go. So, do not try this at home. But we are just saying, and even by sensitive areas, I mean, under the, you know, there are certain areas of your body that are more sensitive skin-wise. And, you know, you can be allergic to different kinds of deodorants that cause problems and hives and bumps. And so, yeah, this is just not good. And like Landon says, with no kind of warning, most people are they're thinking, I'm putting on a white piece of fabric. This is just fine. They have no idea, you know, that it's radioactive. All right, go ahead, Lila.
Garments are meant to be worn until they can't be anymore, then discarded properly. Just get new ones. You can't really bleach that gray out, as the color is actually dyed to be white from an original light blue fabric. This is weird. According to a friend who worked for the distribution center. Yeah. That's one reason why the garments fade to gray over time.
Yep. See, there it is again. That blue or that blue gray is what the fabric is. And we're hearing this from people that work at the distribution center, several people that work at the distribution center. So,
well, I can tell you as a guy, when you say garments are meant to be worn until they can't be anymore, that basically means until they disintegrate from your body, because you know, it's like 15, 20 years, you're still wearing the same garment. So,
are you saying the holy garment has another meaning?
Yes, the holy garment has a eternal life cycle for most guys.
Ew.
Yeah, I was like, ew, get me off this podcast. These guys are weird. No,
I know. I lived with guys in my home, and yeah, they would like hand me it and say, will you stitch that hole up and, you know, fix that? And I'd be like, just go get new ones.
Yeah,
I don't
want to get new ones.
Yeah, yep. To guys, holy garments mean they actually have holes in them. Yeah.
They do. The threadbare. Yep. I remember my parents' one pieces, and they were kind of threadbare in different places because they wore them so much. So, all right, let's go on to our last quote here. These are all just people that are saying, matter of factly, yes, these are dyed.
Yes, they are originally dyed white. So the gray isn't something you can wash or bleach out. Rather, it's due to the dye coming out. In theory, you could re-dye them white, but hopefully it's easier and cheaper to get new ones.
I would hope so. Again, just all those chemicals, if you're re-dyeing something white and adding stuff to your laundry. I mean, you can understand why the original poster said, the next day I wore regular underwear, everything went away. My skin calmed down. Everything was fine. Then you put it back on, and I'm serious. The way my dermatologist described it, it was like a storm, like an electrical storm all over your body. If one place starts scratching, your skin freaks out, and it kind of starts other places, and then you just get kind of like almost in shock a little bit if it's bad enough itching. So this is serious. This is not a joke, not like a little itch. This is life-changing day to day as you're having to deal with this.
It would drive you crazy. Absolutely.
It would drive you crazy. Yep. Yeah. It absolutely would.
So being someone who doesn't know a lot about fabric, I mean, like, with guys, are tidy whities, are they originally gray and dyed white, or
I don't believe so. I think if you read the label, it says, cotton or half cotton, half spandex. And again, the labels, and I should have put this slide up, but anybody, and maybe I'll put it in the show notes, anybody can go to the church website and Google garment types, and it will show you all the different kinds of garments and what they're made of. But I've never seen any indication that there was dye or any kind of chemical that were on these garments that you wouldn't know about.
See, that's the thing. I'm kind of confused because I do know about fabric, and what I understand is when you get a tag on your garment, but like what's in it, they don't talk about the dye. They talk about fiber that it's made from.
That's it.
So they're not going to say blue dye number 72, or they're not going to talk about the dye color. So I don't think that the church probably has ever said, this is, blue gray fabric that we're starting with, and now we're adding white dye. They don't have to do that. They just have to put the fiber content. So technically, you could bleach the original color that they dyed it to make it blue or gray, whatever that is, that you could bleach that out too with chlorine bleach, so that you could get to an actual white, unless it has polyester, and polyester will not bleach white. It will bleach yellow.
That's why I think why they turn yellow, because a lot of the garments are cotton poly or have that element, and people are adding more and more bleach. They're turning more and more yellow. They're adding more and more bleach until, like Lana says, finally they just disintegrate. But that's a very good point. And yes, Lila is an expert on fabric. She has her own fabric line. I didn't even think about that when I invited you on, but you are literally the perfect guest to talk about this.
A little bit about it. I don't know everything, but I do know that certain fibers, if they're not natural fibers like polyester or anything synthetic, is not going to be bleachable to white. And so even if they're 100% cotton, you should be able to bleach them with chlorine bleach to a whiter white. But it sounds like the cotton ones are not originally white, but still, even whatever it was should be dyed out, unless the fiber is not, unless it's cotton that comes from something else that's not actual cotton, which I don't know what that would be.
That could be an option. I mean, like they said, the bamboo cotton, that sounds like maybe it's more a pure cotton, or they even said we use a different dye. So it sounds like that's dyed too. I don't know. Maybe some of our viewers or listeners have more of an inside track on this. We'd love to hear if you have any information, because this is fascinating to us and important, because all of us have faithful, kids, parents, friends that are wearing garments, and perhaps some are struggling in silence and have no idea why this is happening. So this is almost like a PSA.
What do you usually use for dyes? I mean, is it all kinds of different things, or are they typically of some sort of family of?
There's all kinds of dyes. There are natural dyes that are come right from nature. There are synthetic dyes that are, artificial, but the artificial ones can usually create really bright colors, whereas the natural dyes are a little more muted tones, but they're lovely. I mean, you can get some bright colors from natural dyes, but I have no idea what kind of dye they're using to get it white.
That's what I was thinking.
Paint. It would almost have to be like a paint kind of form, because dye, I've never heard of white dye.
Yeah. And to turn a dark color white. Yeah. That's what I'm.
Like you have to add color to it. Right. That's like opaque.
Yep.
And like when you dye your hair, you're adding color to your hair. If you want to make your hair blonde, you bleach your hair.
Yes.
You bleach the color out.
Yeah.
So it's not like you dye your hair blonde. There's no such thing as dyeing your hair blonde. People say it a lot, but it's wrong.
It's the absence of color that you've taken out to get the light color. Wow, this is
Yeah,
fascinating.
no, it's interesting. I'm not sure. Bamboo is a fiber that's made from the actual bamboo plant.
Oh yeah, go to our next slide, Len, and I think I have a picture here of the bamboo plant. Nope, I wonder where I put it. Did I miss it? Oh, I think it was back too. Anyway, it's okay. All right. That is really, it's really interesting to talk about this, and I have no idea, and maybe we'll study more, and maybe our listeners or viewers know more. So on the slide that you just saw, the rest of the post was kind of more advice for this woman. So Landon, do you want to read this next one? And again, everybody's really well-meaning. They're sympathizing, they're empathizing, they're really trying to give some constructive ideas because this is a real problem. So nobody is kind of saying, oh, whatever. All of them seem to understand this is reality. Either they themselves have experienced it or they know people that have. So no one is taking this lightly. No one is making fun of original poster. No one is saying, I've never heard of that. Everybody seems to have heard of it. Like I said, suffering in silence or just something that you don't talk about necessarily. So go ahead with this one, Landon. I thought this was interesting.
This one's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Try a different fabric. Clearly, you are allergic to something in the fabric you are currently using. Also, garments don't have to touch your skin. You can have other undergarments on underneath.
And then the original poster says,
oh, I didn't know about that undergarment thing, but is that really possible to wear 3 layers in the summer? Also, I failed to mention that I have tried just all the fabric and even the one pieces.
Right. So I think what the person sharing advice is trying to say is that maybe, you can wear something underneath. And again, that's also a question. Some people wear their actual bra and panties underneath the garments. So you have this little filmy film over your body. I never did that. I did it the other way around. I know. And
we're in the temple not to do that. I remember that instruction.
Yeah. I think that was older. Yeah. They do say, I think I found it in some statement that you could do that if you needed to. And of course, women have issues with pregnancy, nursing, certain times of the month where you might need a more constrictive undergarment, and then that's worn underneath. So, but this person seems to be saying, wear something fully underneath that would protect you from the garment. So that is several layers.
Oh, I can't even the winter, I'd be so claustrophobic with all that layer.
I know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know as someone who travels, it used to take half of my suitcase was garments.
Yeah.
And the other half was the clothes. Now, if I had to take another set of garments on top of that you'd have a suitcase for garments and a suitcase for your other clothes.
Yeah, you sure would. Maybe you could conveniently lose that other suitcase. But what you said, Lila, is how I felt when I first put garments on. I never had a physical reaction as far as rashes or anything, but I had a psychological reaction, which I now understand is sort of a body dysmorphic reaction to it, where I felt very claustrophobic. I felt very confined. I felt instantly very dark, very sort of depressed. And I felt like I weighed 20 pounds more than 5 minutes ago before I put them on. And I distinctly remember that feeling. I was going to get married in a couple of weeks. I had just gone through the temple. I tried them on in my dorm room. And I remember I was wearing this blue polka dot shirt, and it seemed that the shirt had inflated. I mean, and I know that's not a reality, but it was my psychological and emotional reaction to being covered with layers of fabric. Not everyone can understand that. Maybe some of you can understand that, but that was my personal reaction.
Absolutely. I felt the same way. I'd go to put my jeans on over those things and they'd ride up, and so you have to press or get in there and straighten them all out under your jeans. And then there's crinkly lines and you can tell where there was so many issues. Yeah.
I know.
Okay. I'm going to say as a guy, I was always jealous of the guys who got to take their wives to Victoria's Secret, and they'd go to Victoria's Secret and do all the fun shopping. And, I got to go to the distribution center and check out all the garments.
Well, you had your priorities
there's
right.
Definitely a difference.
Well, and this Victoria's Secret thing too. On They were reserved for special occasions.
Yes.
Yeah. You could do that, but the bulk of the garments coming through the laundry are not those. So this reminds me of a story that RFM shared. And I think if anybody watches the Mormon newscast, we've talked about garments like the last 6 episodes, and we keep saying, I don't want to talk about it again. And here I am voluntarily talking about it again, but it's so important. It has never been hit as hard as it has in the last month, and that means something, and people do need to discuss it. But RFM told the story of how, of course, he was a dance major and he was trying out for something and he was dancing and he was wearing his garment and his gym shirt. And a man came up to him and said, "Are you a Mormon?" And he was like, "Oh, my countenance." He was thinking, you can tell that I'm a Mormon. It's shining through. It's the light in my eyes. And he said, "Why, yes, I am." And the guy goes, "Yeah, I knew another Mormon. You guys are the only ones that like wear multiple shirts. It's weird." So the guy could see the garment shirt under and the shirt over, and here RFM is in a competitive dance scenario, and he's still having to be layered like that. So it is a strange thing, but I thought that was a great story that RFM, of course, thought that they could see
He thought it was the light.
They could see his faithfulness. That's right. Of course, at that time he was active, faithful Mormon and an apologist, so maybe it was shining through. I don't know.
I was in the military, and when I originally got in, I'd have to wear my white one, and then you have to wear your khaki shirt, and then you had to wear the BDU uniform over it. So I always had 3 layers in the summer, and it was awful. And then they came out with the khaki. You could wear khaki garments in the military, and that was like a lifesaver to be able to only have the 1 layer on that you could wear. And you can imagine guys over in Saudi Arabia or Iraq where it's 120 degrees and wearing 3 layers.
That's life or death. You could have a heat stroke. You could literally die from that. So,
and they would never think of just saying you don't have to wear your garments.
No.
They wouldn't think of that. No, we're going to make them khaki for you guys.
Yep. That's right.
But you notice that the khaki is, there are women in the military. I don't know what the women's garments look like for the military. I guess they get them. I never ran into that issue, but when the men have a problem, they solved it pretty quick.
I was just going to say that. Yep.
You can have khaki. You can have khaki garments. Yep.
Yep. Because they can relate to it, but with all the different, and we're not even really talking about fit or style or the weird pockets or we're actually just talking about the fabric and the reaction medically, that your body has. So that would be a much longer podcast. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So here's somebody who says, instead of blaming the garments, I would look at your laundry soap or fabric softener. I've had to start using unscented, uncolored soap and no fabric softener. It's bad for your clothes anyway, because only my garments and no other articles of clothing got itchy. See? Because none of the rest of your articles or clothing are dyed white. But of course, this poster, just thinks for some reason her garments are itchy, and exactly. Don't blame them, right? So she's adding all kinds of, use the most pure soaps and fabric softeners and detergents. So I don't know why it was just the garments, but I was sensitive to the combination of soap and the fabric. Again, we're telling you why it's just the garments, because they are dyed white with additional chemicals. Also, try using Lysol fabric disinfectant every couple of washes. So again, more chemicals that you're needing to spray on your clothes. Clothes get nasty, and the washing process isn't always the best at killing bacteria. So trying to be helpful, but also saying this happens to me, but I'm not in any way going to think it could be something with the garment itself. It has to be my reaction, or it has to be my laundry detergent, or something I'm doing wrong in the washing process. It's not the garments.
But then she says, I don't know why it was just the garments that got itchy.
Exactly. It's a mystery. One of those things you put on your shelf.
Yourself right there.
I know. So that just tells you that some people on this thread, and there were like 80 comments, some did know about the dye. Not sure if they connected that to the itchy or the rash, and other people had no idea that there was something about that fabric. So, because I'm saying, when you buy garments, they are very bright white, aren't they? Like they're very purely white. And then it takes maybe like a week and a half before you're like, what's happening? So, it happens very fast. All right, let's go to our next post on here. All right, Lila, do you want to read this one?
I would do an early renewal of my temple recommend while I was wearing them, so I'd have a while to figure it out. What?
She's saying to the original poster, go right now and renew your temple recommend. And then maybe you can experiment with taking them off, putting them on. You're going to have that whole time that your temple recommend before someone else sits you down and asks about your underwear. You can probably figure it out. So
2 years, screw around with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But really try again to make sure it was still happening or find out it was not.
Right. So experiment back and forth.
And assuming I got spiritual confirmation, which I'd expect to be able to get in the circumstances you described, I would not spend every day miserable.
So there you go. Here's somebody that's saying, go get your temple recommend, but then, try regular underwear, try garments back and forth, see, and then pray about it. And honestly, maybe do what's best for you. So this, again, these comments came out 2 days ago, which is well after Sister Dennis's talk on the garment of the holy priesthood, garment of the holy priesthood, garment of the holy priesthood. I'm going to say it as many times as she said it. Which I will reveal that number on the Mormon newscast. So make sure you check that out. Yeah. And it was a lot. Again, and also them changing the temple recommend question. People are still saying, you know what, use some personal discernment. This is personal. This is you, your health, your body. Use some discernment. So let's go to our next one because they start to
need a spiritual confirmation when your body's breaking out in hives.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Kind of a physical confirmation that there's a problem.
Apparently they do. All right, Landon, I think it's your turn.
Okay. Oh, you are not alone. This happens to a lot of faithful saints. I love my garments, and as I've been learning even more about the symbols, I've learned to love them even more. We are literally wearing something that binds us to the Savior. How epic is that? Having a rash daily, I break out in hives from a different health condition, is no fun. And I don't really see living like that as a fun, long-term feasible option. If the skin gets irritated enough, it may turn into an even bigger problem. Your skin and body are obviously communicating to you that they are very unhappy. We want to respect our bodies as temples and listen to what they are trying to communicate. If you got sick every time you eat a certain food and you kept eating that food, it wouldn't really be honoring your body, would it? We don't make people who are gluten intolerant take the sacrament bread and say, well, suck it up and be sick once a week. Unless there isn't another option, we try to accommodate with something gluten-free, at least in my ward. I know you said you've experienced with different fabrics, but a dermatologist could really help you get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, so I thought this one was really interesting because she started out with a very faithful narrative, how important the garment was, what it meant to her. But then she was like, you know what? And I love this. Your body, and that's kind of what you just said, Lila, your body is trying to tell you something. And if your body's your temple, you need to listen. Something is not right.
Yeah, I like that. I do. I think this is a very faithful way to deal with the problem. I think it's great. I think when I was active and believing in the garment and all of that, this would have been really helpful to me. And I would have thought, oh, good. Okay, here's someone that's validating my problem and saying, look, don't just brush it under the rug. This is your body telling you something. Go talk to your dermatologist and see what it is. And, so if a lot of people are having this struggle, it seems to me that the church should be made aware of this and not just do some kind of a, in other words, if the bamboo garment is not having this problem, then that should be offered in the regular store. You shouldn't have to order it special and pay double for that. So they need to handle this. If they're going to require people to wear them in order to go to the temple, they got to make them more healthy for everyone to wear, period.
Yep. And if they've said now day and night, and in all the rhetoric, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we've heard in the articles and the statements and the conference, they kind of allude to, you just take them off because you're taking them off. They never say anything about maybe maybe there's a medical issue and you're trying really hard to wear them, but you physically can't. I've never heard them address that ever.
Didn't address it at all. And they clearly know about it because they have a person that you can talk to at the distribution center about it.
Yeah, who says, "Oh, that's just the dye, honey. It's just the dye. Just roll with it."
Yeah.
That's my impression of someone at a distribution center. So I'm sorry. I'm sure that's not right.
New Jersey.
Honey, that's the dye. Yeah. Call me. Now we're digressing to accents. This is bad. So, all right. But I thought that was great because again, they're thinking it through and they're like, look, it's not black and white. Well, it is white, but it's dyed white.
It's dyed white.
I guess the thing I have a problem with is they all know there's a problem.
Right.
They're acknowledging the problem.
Right.
And there's a solution to the problem.
Yep.
But no one will go there. They always say, pray about it. Talk to your bishop about it. Call the clothing consultant. Talk to a dermatologist. But nobody says, well, just take them off then and don't wear them.
Yeah.
That's the simple solution.
Yeah. I think that's coming. I think there actually are people saying, we'll see. Let's keep going.
We'll see. I mean, there was such a power move to say no, up until starting in 2019, it was wear them as you're instructed in the temple, and it was kind of a don't ask, don't tell. And people were like, oh, I can use my personal inspiration, revelation. Then all of a sudden, a couple months ago, it's back to night and day. Because I think they were afraid of what it would mean if how people took them off, what would it mean? But they drew a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel that more people will say, this whole series of posts shows me that. I mean, people are very sensitive and they're saying it in words about spirituality, but what they're saying is, I'm going to make up my own mind about this. This is extraordinarily personal. So let's go to the next one and we'll keep reading things like this. Let's see. Yeah, my wife had let's have Landon read it since this is a male chiming in. Go ahead, Landon.
Oh, man.
My wife had the same problem, tried all the alternative options they had to offer with no luck. We finally spoke to our temple president, who basically told her she had put in the necessary effort to show she was committed and that she should not wear them nor feel guilty about not wearing them. All right, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Live how she should and be mindful of her covenants, and she would still receive all the associated blessings. He said, others will try to make you feel guilty about it, but know that Heavenly Father understands and has given you a free pass. It was such a relief and blessings to hear that from a person in his position.
Wow.
Of course, she could go to the bishop and he asked the temple garment question and she says, no, temple president told me I didn't have to. And he'd say, that's not what the question says.
Yeah, it's roulette.
Yep.
Well, she could just say, answer yes to the question because the temple president gave her a pass. That's what I would do.
Oh, yeah. You could feel that question actually is none of your business. Honestly, none of your business. And I'm right with God on it. And I'm going to answer yes, because I don't acknowledge that question. And that's how you could really look at it. So, but this is great. This is a husband that understands. This is a husband that's trying through the channel of their belief, to go to leaders to ask. And this extremely nice temple president gives them the right answer for once. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, gives me hope.
Yep, that was a win, I thought. So
I hope president and hasn't been kicked out for doing that.
I hope we don't out them. We don't know. This actually is a picture of the temple by my hometown right here, but this was not the temple president that gave the instruction. We have no idea who that was. All of these are anonymous. So, all right, let's see what other posters have said. Okay. Someone I know had a very similar, if not the same problem. And a lot of these posts said that. I, of course, did not include all 80, but like I said, none of them said, I've never heard of that. All of them were aware. All of these 80 posters were aware. Someone I know had a very similar, if not the same problem. She actually had a doctor tell her to stop wearing them, stop wearing garments. And now she's addressing the original poster. I will ask her to see when I see her next, if she ever got the problem resolved and what she did. I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. So here's someone that we're learning of that went to a doctor, and the doctor said, get that fabric off your skin. This is not healthy for you. Do not wear these. From the doctor's medical opinion.
Yeah.
Am I missing something, or is Russell M. Nelson a doctor?
Oh my goodness, I had not made that connection. Oh, so they can't claim they don't know, because as a doctor, he would know. He would know all about skin problems
You
and
would think so.
how your body reacts. Yeah, I didn't
You
even
would
make
think
that
he could give a
connection.
medical opinion as well as a
Yeah.
prophetic opinion as to what you should do when you have problems with garments that are causing medical conditions.
I
He'd
did not
be an
make
expert
that
in both.
connection.
Has he been alerted to this problem? I wonder.
That's a good question. Again, I think what they do is they just say, and they blame women. I covered this on the newscast last Monday because the data actually shows that men wear their garments less than women. But all we hear about recently is women in yoga pants and taking your garment, the shaming and the blaming of women. So I think they just don't look at it even farther than to say women are wearing inappropriate clothing. We got to get them back in garments. I don't think that they do think through
He's
the
got to
reasons.
know. Come on, I'm a post-Mormon and I know about this condition. And
You're a post-Mormon podcaster. That's very different.
I don't live my life around the holy order of the priesthood garments or whatever they're calling them now. They are making these decisions. They're discussing these issues before conference. Somebody has got to be saying, there is some issues with this that we should take into account. Now, if they've got to know.
Well, they don't always counsel with women as they should. I feel that the sisters, any of the, General Relief Society or Primary or Young Women's Presidency could, from personal experience, explain garments. Or if there was a garment task force.
Wives could tell them that as well.
Right. So, I'm sure maybe they must have heard it, anecdotally at least, but I don't know.
You would think so.
You would think. All right, let's go to our next one. So, all right. Oh, and then somebody said, based on that, bring a doctor's note to your next recommend interview. Wouldn't that be? I wonder what a bishop would do. What do you think a bishop would do?
I know some that would say, well, Russell M. Nelson is a doctor, and I have his note here that says you're to wear them.
Wow.
He overrides your doctor.
That's powerful, Landon. I don't know. It's obvious you were in a bishopric and said things like that. I don't know.
No, I know of bishops who would go that length. There's others who would say, if your doctor recommends against them, who am I to say you should wear them? You do what you do. You so.
And I think, Nelson is a heart surgeon, right?
Yeah.
He's not a dermatologist.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's not an expert in this. I think if you have a doctor's note, that trumps Nelson. Besides, he's no longer practicing, and he's 90 something.
Something. Well, it's interesting because I can think of two extended family members who were offered doctor's notes for things that wouldn't be considered in line, with mostly word of wisdom. One I've talked about before, who was having gastrointestinal issues, and the option was prescribe 2 cups of coffee a day with a note, or take all kinds of harsh chemicals and, go that route. And the family member said no, even though it would have been a doctor's note, and instead went the route of the chemicals and the pills and those kinds of things, which are so bad for your system. Other situation, the same kind of thing. It was actually medical marijuana before, it was more okay to take. And the doctor said, I will write you a note to your bishop because you need this. It was a situation where they were actually going to pass away. And it was like, this will make you more calm. This will help you. This will ease you. This will increase your appetite, And again, no, so some people just won't take the medical note because, and again, who knows what would happen if you did go into an interview and said, look, I've got a note. So I don't know. These are really complex issues. Yeah, it's interesting. All right, let's go to our next one. Okay, I think it's Lila's turn to read. Okay,
I like this one.
Honestly, this is a good one.
It's up to you. If one of the previously mentioned solutions works for you, that's great. If nothing does, I don't think not wearing your garments due to literally getting rashes for them means you won't receive the blessings on them. And let me ask a question. I'm not reading this part. What are the blessings again? Remind me. I don't remember.
Well, we're going to do an episode on this because we've been looking into it, and the garment has been said to represent different things throughout time. It changes. And it's also been said to offer different blessings throughout time. And it seems to change. It's really, really interesting what people think. I mean, I think protection is probably the one that maybe people of our age grew up with. You know, the stories of I was burnt everywhere, but on my garden, you know, an actual physical protection. They have definitely dialed that back because some people, you know, we're feeling too protected, you know, and not taking safe precautions. So that's a really good question. How would you answer that, Landon? What are the blessings?
Heat rash.
The
one I always heard was, well, you won't, you know, you won't take them off to have sex with somebody. So
it used to be called the chastity garment. So that was the big focus, that if you were somehow found yourself in that position and then you looked at each other in the garment, you'd go, oh, no way. Oh, hell no. You know, maybe something like that.
It's a deterrent. Yeah,
exactly.
And you know, you're in a bar where you shouldn't be, and someone picks you up, and you're like, if I go back to their apartment, they'll see the garment.
Yeah.
And that will be such a turnoff. Yeah.
But it was definitely called chastity garment for a long time. And then now it's garment of the holy priesthood. So now it's more to remind you of all these things. And I have heard women and seen posts of women saying, I hold the priesthood because when I wear the garment of the holy priesthood, I have actually put on the priesthood. So I've said this before, but that kills two birds with one stone. Number one, it gets you to wear your garments constantly. And number two, it tells you you have the priesthood. So those are the two burning issues with women. I know right now. So it's pretty smart.
I think it reminds you of Jesus because he died for you. That's why they're died.
Landon just will not stop.
Yeah, I like it. Bamboozled and died for you.
Oh dear. Okay. Good. All right. Let's finish this. But yeah, it's good. I love the sentiment in this. Let's see what else they say.
Okay. It doesn't mean you won't receive the blessings of them. They're a symbol, and I believe God wouldn't want you to suffer unnecessarily just to follow the symbolism. Of course, that's up to you and how you feel and your relationship with God. But I do know several women who have had to stop wearing garment bottoms because they cause yeast infection. Yep. And I just don't think that God would keep you from blessings for something like this.
Yep. So very practical. And right now we're just talking about skin rashes, but even more intimately, you have yeast infections and other kinds of infections, like I said, in those sensitive areas. And those are real. And we are planning actually an episode with a gynecologist who's going to come on and talk about those issues and what fabric, you know, how that exasperates that. So
well, and we don't know if the dye is part of that. Like maybe that's an irritant too.
Absolutely.
I thought of it before until today.
Yep.
Have these guys read the Bible? Because God very often punishes women for being unclean down there and sends them off, and they can't.
That's true. Jewish law.
Participate in certain things during that time of the month and stuff. Yep. So I don't know, unless they know a different God than what's in the scriptures, that seems to be that he very much does punish that.
Right. But again, this is an issue that nonagenarians probably would not know much about. Women's health, women's reproductive health, all of this. It's very real, but it's not real to people that aren't really in touch with that perhaps right now. So, but I love this woman. I love what she said. She just said, of course you'll still have the blessings. What kind of God is going to put you through that and literally risk your health? It's not going to happen. So I like that. And there were a lot of posts like that. We are only showing a representation of what the sentiments were here on this Reddit thread. So
can I say one thing about this?
Please.
What I like about it is she's separating God from the leaders. God wouldn't want you to suffer unnecessarily just to follow the symbolism, whereas the leaders are telling you, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. She's saying, no, God wouldn't do that to you. So there's a separation in her mind from God and the leaders, which I think is key because we all know that's the case. I mean, if there is a God and the leaders are not listening to God, because God would not allow it. He wouldn't ask these things.
Wow.
If they were from God, there would be caveats all around it. It would be, if these offend your skin, if these cause you health problems, don't wear them. If these, whatever, I mean, if you're in the military, don't worry about it. Like, it just, God is not, if there is a God, and I don't know, the jury's out. I just don't think, like this woman says, that he would require crazy things of us. And yet the leaders, they go right ahead and require it.
Wow, that is such a great observation. I love that. It's God that we're talking to, our relationship with God, a personal relationship with God and garments and garment wearing, and the leaders, no.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
They're getting it wrong.
They're getting it wrong. Very good.
They do.
Yep. All right. I think we're almost down to the end. Yes. Okay. I think it's Landon's turn to read.
I had similar issues, and for me, it is best for me to not wear them frequently. Nothing helped, and it isn't possible to live your life with reactions. I wear mine for church, temple time, and doing spiritual activities, but full-time use is not in the cards for me whatsoever, and that's okay.
And that's okay. I love that. These women are very confident, and that's what she said, for me. This is me. This is my body. This is my skin. This is my spirituality. This is my relationship with God. This is my personal intuition, my personal revelation. And this is for me. And she says, and that's okay. So she's very at peace with it. Yes. So I love this. I thought this was great.
I love the photo.
Yeah. She's like, don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
Nobody's business. Yeah. So for all the garment checkers out there, everybody has a personal relationship. But I think I've told this story before. Maybe I'll tell it again because this is great about garment checking. So I was DJing a parade. I was sitting at a booth on a sidewalk and I had a microphone and I was leaning forward. I was wearing shorts and garments. And, you know, when you lean forward in a chair, you know, your shirt might untuck a little bit because I had jean shorts on in the back. So I'm leaning forward and I'm going, our next entry in the parade is the Daughters of the Utah Pine. And I feel someone's hand down my pants.
Tucking it?
Down my pants. A woman stuck her hand down my pants while I was announcing the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers. And she tucked my garment shirt back in. And I turned around and she whispered really loudly, your garment, your garment.
Oh,
you know,
my
like,
God.
It was like so shocking to have someone stick their hand down your pants.
No,
thank you. You know, but to her, that was terrifying that my garment was, I mean, it must have been showing like what, you know, when you like half an inch. I mean, not much because I had a top on. So
I tried that once and it did not go well.
Oh, all right, Landon. Okay. You get a lot of trouble for that, Landon, unless you're like an 80-year-old lady that was doing it to me. So, but again, people take it so seriously and they're so frightened not to treat the garment correctly, you know, as opposed to this woman who's saying, I have a personal relationship with it and I'm going to do what's best for me, capital M-E. And I think that's great.
Love it.
Yep. I love it too. All right. I think we are on the very last one. Is there one more? Oh, yes. Yes. I thought this was beautiful. Lila, do you want to read this one? Although the picture, a little unusual. I'm never quite sure about what this is about, but all right, go ahead, Lila.
God loves us and is understanding of our hearts. He knows that you don't wear garments due to a medical issue, not due to anything else. And that's all that matters, in my opinion. I think we, members of the church, get really stuck in the rigidity of commandments and view things as black and white quite often. But there are so many circumstances when things just aren't clear. When that happens, I think it should be left to the individual and God to decide how to follow the commandment. Everyone is different and God knows that and will accommodate to it.
See, there it is.
Very nice.
It's very nice. And again, I bring up, this is all post-conference and all those talks and all the articles about the temple recommend interview changing and day and night. This is all just from like a day ago. So women are, you know, having autonomy. They are thinking it through and they're doing what's best for themselves. And so I really applaud everybody for that because that's how it should be.
At least some of them. I hope that, you know, that is indicative of a large number It'd be
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, if you're going to do it, if you're going to be in there doing all the things, do it with this attitude.
Mhm.
You know, it's between you and God. I
So
like it.
why doesn't the church just contract with Lululemon to do
Yeah.
garments? 'Cause according to all the talks, the women are not wearing their garments so they can wear yoga pants. So might as well just have the yoga pant people make the garments.
No, and there was one post about that where they said you actually can choose a shirt of your own. This person said they had chosen some Under Armour shirts, and that then there was a little screening that you could screen on, like a silk screen on the marks that needed to be there. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't have time to look into that further. Maybe some of our viewers and listeners know about that, but they did say, but I don't know if it has to be, to this. I mean, could you do it on your cute Victoria's Secret bra? I don't know if you could or not.
That would be the next new line that comes out from Victoria's Secret with the little markings.
Yep. You could do it. No, I had a friend in college who said, I'm just going to get tattoos. And I'm like, yeah, that technically maybe would work. I don't know.
Just tattoos in those places?
Yeah. Just with I know. Isn't that interesting? He goes, I'm going to do it. I swear I'm going to do
some
it.
piercings that have the mark.
Oh, yeah. Well, funny you would mention that, because if anyone wants to study the history of garments, it originally, very long ago, was just a white outer garment, and the marks were actually cut in with a knife until some of the women said, no, we're not doing that symbolism. That's not what's going to happen. So it was very short-lived, but yes, you can look that up. That was part of some of the original things that happened in the temple. So,
oh my gosh,
yeah, I don't have a slide for that. So,
well, there seems to be no lack of creativity on how we could do this, other than telling people they have to wear something that makes them allergic or hives or rashes. So.
Yeah. And again, we're trying to respect this. All of us wore garments for decades, didn't we? Between us here on this panel, I mean, I wore them for 5 decades. I think you, Landon, wore them for 5 decades. Lila, probably you're the same. So we got a lot of garment wearing, and between the 3 of us. And so we do respect those that it's very important to, and it means something. And we respect, your relationship with the church and the leaders and God, and wanting to do that. So, but we're also simply drawing attention to, there might be a better way if people were to speak up to leaders and say, could we have a safer fabric? Could there be something like that? Or could we have the option to not have to wear them all the time, because it's hurting us, and maybe just that message hasn't made it up the chain, like you said. Yeah.
Well, I've really enjoyed, again, wearing my garment of the Aaronic priesthood. It's really been.
Are you saying you're back to your tidy whities that you wore when you were 12?
Priesthood.
Oh my gosh. TMI on this whole, we're not going to be able to monetize this if we keep talking about Landon's tidy whities. So. All right. Lila, do you have any last statement? And then we'll see if Landon has one last thing to say, and then we'll call it a night. I think we covered it. Everybody did a great job.
I don't. I mean, I would love to say just stop wearing them, everyone, all the members of the church, but that's not going to happen. And I think back to when I was an active member, and if someone told me, just stop wearing them, I would probably think, well, wait, I took a covenant, and I, in front of God and angels and witnesses and all of that. And I can't just not do it anymore. But I will say that once I realized that everything wasn't what I thought it was, and I was able to reframe everything, it was the most freeing day of my life to take those garments off and realize it was okay not to wear them anymore. I became emancipated in a way that I never saw coming. And I mean, I still dress pretty modestly by choice, just because I'm more comfortable that way. But not having that layer on, and how that felt to me, because I am a claustrophobic person, I would get anxiety from it, has been absolutely one of the best things ever in my life, best decisions I ever made. So I think, you don't have to break out in a rash to have a difficult time wearing something. And yet that would never have been recognized as a reason, a legitimate reason. So anyway, I guess that's all I really have to say about that.
No, and I appreciate you saying that. Exactly. We're talking about a medical rash, but as I brought up, my reaction sounds like Lila had a very similar reaction, an emotional, a psychological reaction that was not understood back in our day when we put those on. But I think now it is more understood, that anxiety that you feel, that claustrophobia that just makes you not feel right. So that's important too. As important as the physical reaction is that emotional, spiritual, psychological reaction too. So glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's important. So what about you, Landon? Any final thoughts that are not about your tidy whities?
Well, let me be brief.
Oh my God. He had to get one more in there.
We're on a roll tonight. Landon.
For me, I got a rash when I decided to stop wearing the garments because my wife was still TBM. And when I got to the point where I said, I don't believe anymore, I said, I'm not wearing these anymore. They're a symbol to me. They were a weight. They were they were representative of oppression, something that I was forced to wear in that I didn't believe. But when I took them off, I didn't really inform her. I just took them off and started wearing a different pair, and she got a little rash with me.
Oh, there you go.
Why did I take them off without having a discussion with her? And I'm kind of like, well, it's my underwear, my choice. And there's no reason for me to wear these when I don't believe in it anymore. So I think it goes further than just physical. There can definitely be other side effects to the garments when some people stop believing and others still believe in it. That gets to be a whole nother issue right there. So
yeah, that's a really charged issue. That really is when you're in a mixed faith scenario, and it is kind of the first outward symbol, or maybe in some cases the last outward symbol. You've deconstructed, you've changed your belief, you've changed your paradigm, and then you get to that point, but it's this physical outward appearance where your spouse or your friends or your family see that you're not wearing it. And that means that you're a different person and you've gone on a different path. And you're exactly right, Landon.
It's making a statement when you change
it really is
that you wear in an LDS.
And you get judged for it.
Yeah.
I could tell you a story right now, but I won't because it'll just take too much time. But next time we talk, remind me about a situation in my family having to do with garments that was just
well, now everyone's going to want to hear it. So you're going to have to just tell it. Otherwise, we're going to have to type it out in the comments. So tell it quickly.
I'll say it fast.
As the final story. Here we go.
My daughter married an ex-Mormon, and they did not get married in the temple. And her grandfather, not my father, but her dad's father, refused to come to the wedding because it wasn't a temple wedding. And the grandmother had already passed away. It was the only grandparent living. Would not go because and would not speak, never acknowledged this boy, never looked at him in the eye, never spoke to him because he had taken his garments off.
Oh my gosh.
So wouldn't go to the wedding. And many months later, I would go visit him because he was getting older, and I would just go talk to him sometimes. And he was always really happy to see me. And we had a discussion. He said, do you think I've been too hard on this son-in-law of his and, or grandson-in-law, I guess. And I said, yes, I do. I think what you did was not Christ-like at all. I don't think that's what Jesus would have done. And he said, yeah, you're probably right. And I said, and the worst part is, Grandpa, that you really hurt my daughter because you didn't accept her husband, who is one of the best people I know. And I said, I can't, that isn't what Jesus would have done, is it? And he really got choked up. And he said, I've hurt her, haven't I? And I said, you really have. And I didn't expect that from you. I thought that you would accept him regardless of what his beliefs are and come to their wedding. It was your granddaughter. And he called both of them in. This was just a short time before he died. Called them both in and talked to the grandson-in-law specifically, and gave him a hug and said he was sorry for how he had behaved. And I thought that was a beautiful ending to the story, because he didn't live much longer than that. But, he had really, he mended the fence there. But for a while, they dated for 5 years. Okay. 5 years, he would not acknowledge this boy in a family gathering, wouldn't speak to him, wouldn't look at him, had nothing to say to him because he wasn't wearing his garments anymore. That's what this can do to a family and to a marriage, with Landon's experience. It can completely tear it apart. Just the wearing of what kind of underwear you put on. It's crazy.
When you put it that way. No, it is when you put it that way. That's exactly right. It's really charged. And so, please in the comments, let us know your experience with garments and any of the scenarios that we talked about, because I think it was a really important conversation. And again, we're trying to be respectful of the belief. Like I said, we have decades between us of wearing garments. We understand what that's all about, but we also have a different perspective now too. And I feel like some of these social media posts that we shared, other people are starting to kind of take ownership of what wearing garments means to them. And that's important, I think, because then it's your choice and you feel empowered and it means more to you. I'm going to put them on today because I'm going to the temple, or I'm going to put them on today because I'm attending sacrament meeting. That's your choice. That's autonomy. And it's more important and sacred to you, instead of thinking, oh, I have to put these on again. So again, open to interpretation. But yeah, we definitely want to hear from all of our viewers and listeners on your thoughts on garments. I can't seem to stop talking about them somehow. RFM Bill and John will be so disappointed in me. There are no garments on this thumbnail, though. I will say that. So, all right, everybody, please like and subscribe to Mormonish, and please hit the notification bell if you'd like to be made aware of when new episodes come out. You can always donate to Mormonish Podcast and help us out financially. We have links in the show notes to Venmo, PayPal, and mormonishpodcast.org. And we also have a link to our merch store. We do have mugs and hats and fun things to show your support of Mormonish. It's pretty awesome. So we will say goodbye again. And thank you so much, Lila. It was amazing to have you on, as always. And thank you, Landon, for all of your one-liners and your inappropriate jokes. It just wouldn't be Mormonish without that. So. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mormonish. We really appreciate our listeners and would love to hear from you if you have a story you'd like to share. You can email us at mormonishpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, mormonishpodcast.org. And don't forget to look for us on YouTube and like and subscribe. Keep joyful, everybody.